Hey everybody, it's Mr. White. Welcome back. So this is my first video here in actually solving some expressions for you guys and showing you the process of some of this math stuff that we're talking about. So I thought it'd be fitting to start with expressions and formulas. This is really the basis of what you need to understand in order to be successful in algebra. So let's go ahead and just hop right into it. There are three terms that we need to start off by defining and understanding before we can build upon that knowledge a little bit later. The first one is variable. Variable you've probably encountered before. A lot of times you encounter them in elementary school, and they may have shown up something like a triangle or a diamond or something like that. My diamond's a little wonky, both my triangle is too, so both those are a little bit weird. But you may have seen something like this in elementary where you were told the 2 plus the triangle, there we go, 2 plus the triangle equals, let's say, 3. And then you had to figure out what the triangle equaled in order to make it 3. And so that's basically the concept of a variable. A variable is something that we use to represent something that we don't know. So in this example, we used a triangle. In algebra, we typically use the letter X. Now we can use other letters, and in fact we do oftentimes use other letters, but when we only have one variable in the expression, we're typically going to use the letter X. And so I rewrote that expression as you would see it in algebra, which is 2 plus x equals 3. So this is something that you're going to see pretty often when you're dealing with algebra, is you're going to see the letter X. Now again, we can use other letters, we can use symbols, we can use anything that we want to use really, but typically we use X. Okay, what's an algebraic expression? Well, an algebraic expression is an expression like 2 plus 1, but it's an expression that contains at least one variable. So an algebraic expression is an expression like 2 plus 1 equals x. And so this is an algebraic expression here. It's an expression that contains at least one variable. This here is also an algebraic expression. This one here, this part, that's also an algebraic expression because 2 plus x equals 3. That expression contains a variable. So that is an algebraic expression. So just understand that it's an expression that contains at least one variable. So as long as it's got one variable, and it can be x, it can be other things as well, as long as it's got one of those, it's an algebraic expression. The next thing that we need to understand is the order of operations. The order of operations, if you're in the United States, you probably have seen it as PEMDAS. PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's the order of operations that we typically see in the United States, and it is the most common as far as my knowledge. I know in other parts of the world they have different acronyms for this, and in different parts of the US there's a few others, but it's probably PEMDAS that we've seen if we're in the United States. PEMDAS stands for, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, that's what we use to remember it, but what it means is, it means parentheses, it means exponents, it means multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. And the way that we work that is parentheses always comes first, exponents will always come second when we're solving the expression, then we work multiplication and division. We do those at the same time, but we always work those left to right, from left to right in the expression. And then finally we have addition and subtraction. Those get worked at the same time as well, but those as well are worked from left to right. Okay, now that we understand a few terms, let's hop into it and try and solve an expression. We're given an expression x plus, open parentheses, y minus 1, close parentheses, squared. And we're told that x equals 4, and we're told that y equals -1. So we have this expression here, and we are told to solve. So let's go ahead and begin to solve. The first part of solving is when we are told what the variables equal, all that we have to do is substitute those variables in. And that's very simple. So let's think about substitution for a minute here. What is substitution? Well, if you think about your teacher at school, when your teacher gets sick, they have to bring in a substitute. So what's happening is you have a regular teacher, you have something that's you have someone that's filled that position that's there, and for a time she cannot be there, and so you need to use something else. You need to have somebody else come in and fill that position for a time. This is what we have going on here. We have this expression which is represented by variables, and these variables, let's say this, that these variables are filling this position for a time, and we need to replace them with the numbers that belong there. We need to replace them with the things that are traditionally or are supposed to be there in order to make the expression true. So here we have our variables, our temporary substitutes there, and we need to replace them with the things that belong there. So it's like your substitute teacher is there for a time, and then she's getting replaced by the original teacher, the correct teacher that's supposed to be there. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's take our 4 and we put it in for x. So the 4 goes where the x goes. We're going to bring down our plus sign, bring down our open parentheses, and then we'll bring our -1 right here because that is filling the place of y. And then we bring down our other -1 because that just comes down from right up here. We'll bring down our parentheses and we'll bring down our squared sign. Okay? So we have 4 plus, open parentheses, -1, -1, close parentheses, squared. So let's solve this. Let's solve this expression using PEMDAS. So PEMDAS, the first one is parentheses. So we'll take care of the business inside the parentheses. -1, -1. I'll take just a second here to say, if you're not good with negative numbers, please, please, please practice your negative numbers. You need to have a good understanding of negatives for the rest of algebra, and you really need it for the rest of your life. This is one area you ask all the time, when am I ever going to use this in life? Negative numbers you will use every single day of your life. Every time you want to purchase something, every time you want to balance your checkbook, anytime you want to take out loans, anytime you want to budget something, you're going to be dealing with positive and negative numbers. So get used to those, get good at those, because you're going to be using them until you die. Okay, -1, -1. So we have -1, and we're subtracting a +1 or one more. So -1 -1, that's going to give us -2. And that's still going to be inside the parentheses. Now, anytime we're dealing with math, get used to this. Get used to solving it one step at a time and bringing down your other information. So that's what we're doing here. We solve for the -2 and we just brought everything else down. We take it one step at a time, because when you get into really big equations, you're going to get confused. If you try to do it in your head or you don't write stuff down, you're oftentimes going to get the question wrong because you're not skilled in doing it mentally, and so you need to really practice writing it all down until you get really, really, really good at it. So here, we did parentheses, now we do exponents. Exponents is next. -2 squared. -2 squared. Well, that's -2 times -2. We know that a negative times a negative makes a positive, and we know that 2 times 2 equals 4. So -2 squared is going to be 4. And now at this point we can drop the parentheses if we'd like, because we've already taken care of this squared, and so we don't need our parentheses anymore. So now we're left with 4 plus 4. 4 plus 4 is simply 8. So we have solved this expression. 4 plus 4 is 8, and we're done. We had no more multiplication to do. We had no division to do. We had a little bit of addition, and we went ahead and did that right here. And then we didn't have any subtraction to do, so there was nothing to do there. So the answer to this expression, given that these are what x and y equals, is 8. Let's do another one here. Okay, we have the expression z plus, open parentheses, 4 minus x, close parentheses, squared. And we're told that z equals 4 and that x equals 2. So z equals 4, x equals 2. Let's solve this. Z, we have 4 plus, open parentheses, 4 minus x equals 2. Put that in there. And then we have our squared sign right up here. So 4 plus, open parentheses, 4 minus 2 squared. 4 minus 2 is 2. Write our squared sign, bring down our plus, bring down our 4. 2 squared, oh look, we get the same answer again. How cool is that? 2 squared is going to be 4. And I said that because I already did the rest of this in my head here. 2 squared is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Let me just write that out so we don't get confused. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, I put that 4 right here. Now 4 plus 4 equals 8. How cool was that? Got the same answer as our last problem, which is 8. Okay, let's take it up just one step, and let's deal with a slightly more difficult, or not really difficult, just more intensive problem. We have the expression a plus b squared, open parentheses, b minus a, close parentheses. And we're told that a equals 5, and we're told that b equals negative 3. b equals negative 3. So let's solve this expression. Let's see if we can solve it. So a equals 5, so we put a 5 here, plus b equals negative 3, so that we put that right here. So negative 3 squared, and then we've got to open parentheses, negative 3 minus our 5, because that's where we put our a, or our 5 goes in our a spot, close parentheses. Now, this here may look a little intimidating, but don't let it intimidate you. Substitute your numbers in for your variables, and let's just take it one step at a time, okay? So, first step, parentheses. What's in our parentheses? Negative 3 minus 5 more. Negative 3 minus 5 more. Negative 3 minus 5 is going to be negative 8. Okay? Negative 3 minus 5 more is 8. What's next? Exponents. Exponents. So right here we have an exponent. Negative 3 squared. Negative 3 squared, let me put it, let's see, right over here if I can. Negative 3 times negative 3. Well, negative times a negative makes a positive. 3 times 3 equals 9. So right here we have 9. And I'm sorry, I told you to make sure you're taking it one step at a time, but and write down the expressions, but I got a little ahead of myself here. So please do your best to follow along. I will slow down a little bit to help you there. So here we have our negative 8, and that's still in the parentheses. We have our positive 9. I'll leave that in parentheses for now, and then I'll go ahead and carry down my plus sign and my 5 before I get too ahead of myself. So here the squared sign was touching the parentheses here. So that's imaginary multiplication. So here we have an imaginary multiplication sign here. I'll bring it to light by putting a dot there for multiplication. And then we solve this. So what's next? We had parentheses. We had exponents. Then we have multiplication. So we don't do 5 plus 9 first. We do 9 times negative 8. We do 9 times negative 8 first. So 9 times negative 8. What is 9 times negative 8? Well, if my elementary math serves me right, we have, well, a negative times a positive is a negative. And then if I believe, let me think just for a second so I can check my work in my head. 9 times 8, I believe, is 72. And I believe that is right there. Okay, so negative 72. Then we have our 5. So we have 5 plus negative 72. And then we have no division, so we don't have to do that. And now we just take care of addition. Okay? So 5 plus negative 72. Anytime you're adding a negative number, you can just drop or forget about the plus sign. So we have 5 minus 72, which is what? Well, let's count backwards here. 72, 71, 70, 69, 68, 67. So we should get negative 67 as our answer. So that was fun there. We got negative 67. All right. Let's go over one more concept here, and we'll end the video shortly. And that is a formula. What is a formula? Well, a formula, it's a mathematical sentence that expresses the relationship between certain quantities. So what does that mean? Well, let me show you what it means. Here's a formula you may be familiar with, and that is 2 pi, oh, my pi is a little bit off, 2 pi r. Well, we know that 2 pi r equals circumference, okay? So the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. That's a formula right there. So this is telling us that the circumference will always equal 2 times pi times the radius of any given circle, okay? In algebra, you're going to see things like y equals mx plus b. This is another formula. This is telling us that y is always going to equal m times x plus b. And there's some more things there, and we'll get to what m stands for and what x is and b later on in algebra. But this is an example of a formula. Okay, well, we're going to get further into formulas pretty soon, but I want to leave y'all with just a couple of problems that you can try for yourself, and you can see how well you are mastering this content. So let me leave you with this problem. We've got a minus 2b plus 3c. And so this is problem number 1 here. Let me do problem number 2 here. We'll do 5c minus 2. And this is going to put, I'm going to put a bracketing symbol here, and then an open parentheses, b minus a, close parentheses, plus c. And then I'm going to close it with a bracket here. And you may be thinking, well, what do we do here? You didn't go over this. Well, look, when we're dealing with PEMDAS, we start from the innermost parentheses and work our way out. So when you're solving this problem, start with this parentheses first, and then do this parentheses, this bracketing symbol here. So I just use these brackets to make it look different than this parentheses. So you'll solve b minus a first, and then you'll take that number, add it to c, and then you'll be done with this whole parentheses set. So I'll give you a chance to kind of work that out, but I will explain it further in later videos. And let's do a third problem here. Let's do the problem 2a plus open parentheses b plus 3 close parentheses squared. So 3 very simple problems for you to do here, and I'm even going to give you the answers. I'm going to give you the answers for these problems, and you can know if you get it correct, if you get the right answer. So in this first one here, the answer for this one is going to be 4.6. The answer for the second one is going to be 2.6. And your answer for the third one is going to be 32. Okay? So these are going to be the answers to these problems. If you get these answers, you've done it correctly. Let me leave you with what these variables equal. So a is going to equal -2. B is going to equal 3. And C is going to equal 4.2. So A equals -2, B equals 3, and C equals 4.2. Okay, so go ahead and try and solve these problems yourself and get some practice there. So you have the equations, you have the answers, and you have what each A, B, and C equals. Take your time, don't get too confused. Just take it one step at a time, and I'll see y'all next time.